matter how many times you've been, it will still take your breath away over and over again. It's a beautiful area for hiking, for biking, for snowmobiling in the winter, skiing, snowshoeing, etc., etc. It's a lot less expensive than Reno, and believe it or not, I think it's actually safer to go into Carson City, even though it's an east-west runway, and so when you go mist on 27, you know, there's some big hills here, but Minden, it's a very active glider port, and there actually has been a collision between a BizJet and a glider, not too distant past. I think it was about 15 years ago, because I was still flying for FlexJet then, so we were shocked that it had happened and everybody survived. So that's even more shocking. Yeah, the gentleman that was in the glider, he punched out. He had a parachute on, but apparently he paid for a parachute and not anything to track his glider. So they did glide at 16,000 feet down here. So another reason why I really like Carson City, you don't have to deal with that. But the cars are cheaper. They have Jet A, they have a Lead, and they do have an RM approach to 27. If you go to Reno, I mean, obviously everything's right there, but it's a lot more expensive. A little easier to get in there, but you're going to pay a lot more to be there. So, and because I was afraid of flying in the beginning and trying to overcome my fear, my first husband, he would, I wouldn't say drive me, but he was really good at trying to get me to go out flying. And because I like it to be productive when you go up in the air, because it's not cheap, we would go, here's Carson City, here's Lake Tahoe, here's Napa Valley. Napa Valley soon became my favorite place to fly, not Carson City. And there's probably an obvious reason for that, and people who know me know how much I do like some Cabernet. We went there, I can't tell you how many times, and it's obviously accessible from Sacramento on Southwest. We do have direct there on Saturdays. And then the Bay Area as well, Oakland, San Francisco, you can drive up. They have, one of the best things we did a wine train tour there, and it's, I know I'm gonna get really thirsty. We did it during the holidays, and if you ever want to make something like a special treat, head out there, do it during the holidays. They have a wine pairing dinner. So as you're going along on the train, they would slow down during the certain towns that had a lot of lights. One of the prettiest things, again, all the things you get to see when you're in the aviatrix, is they would light up the different vineyards as well, and it was just amazing. So a lot of these pictures I did have to steal because I couldn't go back that many years in photos. I didn't know what my logbooks are. I was going to get those. That's a fun thing to look at. So Napa, obviously, great wine, great food. You can go north to Calistoga area. We did that as well. And they have the mini geyser there, the Calistoga. It's right there in Montville. So you can go and see the little Old Faithful. And they have a supposedly a timed shooting off of the geyser. I think when we were there, it was off by quite a bit, but we got to see it. We stayed in the Napa Valley Railway Inn, which is an actual train that they've stopped and pulled it off a track, made another track that doesn't actually work. And all of the train boxcars are now rooms. The rooms look very common, like a hotel room, but it's a super unique experience, and it's walking distance to this spa where you get to try this mud bath treatment. Don't do it. Don't do it. I don't know how they keep this sanitary. This was easily probably 30 years ago. Ew. I don't know. I don't know why you would do this. We did it just because it's supposed to have healing aspects, you know, and taking on the waters. And I get it. I get the concept of it, but yeah, no, not ever again. But it's there if that's your thing. So because we decided, you know, we had enough wine in storage and we wanted to try something new, but we still didn't want to go too far. Still, Homegirl's a little afraid of flying, but just getting better. We went south down the Sierra Nevada range and still pretty close to home. This is Kernville, and Kernville is 183 miles south of Carson City. Elevation's only 2,600 feet there, and I have to say, one of the neatest things about Kernville, you taxi off the runway, park your plane, and pitch your tent. So you can park right next to your airplane. It's, you know, depending on when you go, it's somewhat cool and cooler weather. It was weird at first, but I think they built new showers. It was like a wooded box around you. You open the door, you get in, but it was hot. It was a hot shower. So like for free camping right next to your airplane, it was a unique experience. Now, of course, the few times I went in there, I was always wearing a swimsuit because I wasn't brave enough, knowing who knows what people can see underneath there, whatever, people flying by. But if you got too hot, you could go down into the Kern River. And when I was looking this information up, because it has been a while since I've been there, the Kern River used to be called the Whiskey River. And the town of Kernville used to be further south. And what they did, because LA needed more water, they built a dam there and they flooded the town out after they moved everybody. And when the water's down, low levels, you can actually still walk out and see some of the bases of the buildings that used to be there that's now flooded over when the water gets higher. So it's kind of unique and historic for a lot of reasons. There's also a restaurant there. They do have a crew car, and that was the big thing whenever we went anywhere. We wanted a crew car, and I'll tell you what, we've driven some real jalopies, but you know what, they're free and they get you where you want to go. But if the car's not available, they have a restaurant on the field as well. They do caution you, it's a dawn to dusk VFR only airport, because when the winds start howling around there, you have probably a lot of turbulence, typical of the Sierra Nevada mountain range. But then you also have a peak here that's 7,200 feet, and then the Sierras climb up to 10,000 about there. But I know there's more cool places around Florida, and I'm still learning those. I fly a lot professionally, so I'm still getting to those places. When I do another presentation in about 10 years, we'll talk about the Florida area. So, from the campgrounds of Kern Valley, and they always have, I love this, pre-built fire pits, because I used to camp a lot, and we always have to put that together. So now we're going north, and I have a lot of friends from Oregon and Washington. I don't know if you've flown around the Three Sisters. MC said head shaking, yes. Okay, so the Three Sisters, right down the hill from that, is another mountainous resort, but it's called Sun River. And it's not as primitive, so you guys don't have to pitch a tent next to your airplane. You can actually walk across 15 minutes to this Sun River resort. And the activities there are just endless. I mean, you can walk on paths forever. You can ride a bike, you can canoe, you can kayak. So if you like to do anything outside, this is one of the probably best places I recommend. It's a long ways for you to go, I get it, West Coast, but if you happen to be flying across the United States, because I just can't wait till I retire to get to do all that, without having to come back and fly in a big airplane. But this is the view from the deck, and we went a little further north after we went to Sun River. Ironically, it's not a mountainous airport. This Blakely Island, it's kind of like Spruce Creek. It's by invite only, but there's no restaurant on the field, so people can't just stop here and say they're coming to eat at the restaurant. my uncle's girlfriend had a house on Blakely Island. So we decided with some friends of ours, we're gonna fly 1,250 miles in a day and go land at Blakely Island, and it's only 63 feet. So big difference from what we've been doing. It's north of Seattle, north of Whidbey Island, gorgeous area, and these are all amazing, amazingly beautiful places. So one of the pictures I did find in the Thorpe, flying by the mountains, this one, we got the 2 weeks, the absolute, probably best 2 weeks of flying for whatever reason back then.
What a great picture.
Yeah, and that's an old, that's an old camera too, so surprisingly. So this is Blakely, and there's the runway. Now you're seeing part of it, but that's almost all of it because it's only 2,000 feet long. And the Thorpe would come across the fence about 100 knots. We liked usually 2,500 feet to land. 2,000 feet we can do it at sea level, it's not a big deal, but as you can see, there's not a lot of overrun area. So it's get it down, get it stopped, but then you have a rise and then you have another descent on the other side. So it was a very, there was a pucker factor for sure when we came in and we looked at it. And if you pull up some videos on the internet, which of course I did, of other people flying in there, we weren't the only ones that had the pucker factor. So a few people are like, forget it, I'm not even gonna try it. So this is back in the day, this is my uncle's girlfriend who had the place there. She had a huge boat that she had made, and it was, I don't know, 50 feet long, whatever. So these are people we also flew up there with, and we went out on the boat and toured the whole area of the islands, and Friday Harbor, Orcas Island, and it just was so different after being in Nevada where it's dry and not a lot of greenery. You go up to that area and it's just like, wow, it's so green, everything's so green. It's like Florida. So this was the view from her deck, and it was so quiet. I don't think I've ever been in a place that was as quiet as her house. It was just, you sleep like a baby. So as life goes on and more flying happens, suddenly I had enough time to go get my resume in. After flight instructing for 2 years and building time for about 5 years before that, I flew this Twin Otter over the Grand Canyon for 9 months. Not this one, but we had other ones, but one's just like this. It's a 19-passenger de Havilland, and I'll tell you what, just like every other place I'm telling you about being absolutely gorgeous, the Grand Canyon, I mean, how many people have been there? Yeah, I figured if you haven't, please take the time to go. We had different routes that we were allowed to fly in the special flight rules area. It's called SROC. So we could fly down lower. We couldn't go below the rim because of the fact that there were some crashes, bad crashes back in the day. But we could get pretty close. This is Monument Valley. It was a one-way in, a one-way out field. So we would land to the west on the dirt, and we would roll onto park pavement. I have no idea, maybe they can afford the whole thing to be paved, but they would take the passengers out on an open air, like, pull buggy thing and tour the monuments and come back and have Indian tacos. So of course, we all had to do that one time when we got hired. And Indian tacos, huge thumbs up. I don't know if you've ever had them, but they're so, so good. So, me at the helm, I never upgraded there, but it was a fun job. I was so excited because I had windshield wipers on my twin. This is the Grand Canyon's airspace. The purple areas are an absolute no-fly zone. I don't care if you're JC himself, you don't go through those areas. Typically, we take off out of Vegas, we'd go over Nellis, we'd go over Lake Mead, we'd fly over the dam, we'd do a left-hand turn over the dam, and then we'd go out and do the short tour and go back to Vegas, or Canyon West, where now they have that glass walkway out on it, and it is actually not in the Estra area. There's a little cutout right here, and that's where Canyon West is. So if you ever wanted to actually go out there, avoid, go in. It's really super cool. The Havasupai Indians that live out there, sometimes they're welcoming, sometimes not. I think we're there very much in a financial respect, but going to the Grand Canyon is amazing. Going out to Monument Valley and to Bryce Canyon, also all amazing. And that's all available still through Grand Canyon Airlines, I believe. And I think Scenic has been merged with another airline, and they still do the tours. If you guys have any questions, please speak up. It gives me a chance to breathe. Just a few pictures of, these are old pictures of an old camera, but they do tours down the river that you want to register for at least a year in advance, and you can go whitewater rafting. Believe it or not, there's some rafting areas that are class 3, class 4 rapids through there. The best time to see the canyon, obviously, is sunrise and sunset, and right after it rains, because the rain saturates the rocks, and it just makes it look so pretty. And as you can tell, just the shadowing on there is absolutely, it's just phenomenal. Even flying into Vegas, you get to see this. If you fly from here to there, you want to be on the right-hand side of the plane, my side, the tow side. Another day where we had some snow. We only did day trips, except for the one time for my birthday I got snowed in there because they don't have snow removal equipment. But I was there with a bunch of other crew and we had a good time. Crazy time. Lake Powell. Have any been to Lake Powell? Yeah, another gorgeous area. And then right up from Lake Powell is Antelope Canyon, which is the sandy, beautiful, washed out areas underneath the ground. Magical. Absolutely magical. This is Monument. Rainbow Bridge. Oh, and then there's another airplane. After 9 months at Scenic and windshield wipers and turboprops, I decided I wanted to fly a jet with the windshield wipers. So I moved from Vegas and to St. Louis, Missouri. And at 35 years old, I had never been east of the Rockies. I know, I was not a world traveler. I don't know if I am nowadays either, but I'll tell you what, I'm very grateful for this career because it did make me get out. So I was there 9 months, and I have to say, going back to my memories, I enjoyed St. Louis more than I think I enjoyed overnights. I had glasses. I know. I did like the bulbous nose though, and I was wondering if you have like a pug or a pit bull. I think it's cool. So this is the day I passed IOE with Axel Arter and Carrie. I flew them quite a bit through the 9 months that I was here. So there's a theme here, 9 months. 9 months. Okay, I had enough of that. It's like having a baby, you've had enough. It's like, okay. The only good overnight I could actually even think about was in Harrisburg, and because we had chocolate. So the captain that I was flying with, Jeff, took a picture, one of my other favorite flight attendants, and ironically, Jeff and I are both at Southwest now. So then there's another airplane, and it wasn't just for a 9 month baby stint. This was 10 years I was in Slater 60. And I'll tell you what, this is where the meat meets the bread, because it was like general aviation flying, but now I'm in a jet, and rich people are paying the bill. And I'm going to some cool places. So it was really hard for me to narrow it down with the Lear, but I can say without a doubt, Jacksonville, Wyoming has been one of my favorite airports since I went there on a girls' trip to go snowboarding many, many years ago. And I knew if I moved anywhere on my own, it was gonna be Jackson Hole, Wyoming. So, who's been to Jackson Hole? Okay, so you know what I'm talking about. And as far as a pilot goes, I think it's pretty easily, I wouldn't say accessible, but it's not mountainous except for on one side. And don't mind that. I know, we had air that blew it off. Different concept. Okay, wait. Grand Tetons. So, I was flying over this, and I'd done it several times with FlexJet, and I was flying with a new first officer, and he literally, when we came up to this spot, he just stopped talking, his mouth dropped open, and he's like, I have never seen something so beautiful in all my life. And I'm like, it gets better. So as you come over the Grand Tetons, it's basically, spiral down and land. The field is 6,500 AGL, and it's 6,300 feet long. It's expensive, of course, because they had my work for FlexJet. They only have one FBO there. So when I pulled up the information yesterday, their Jet A was $9.41 a gallon. And 100 low lead was $8.72. I think that's a little high. I mean, I don't pay for Jet A very often, my husband does, but, and then my 737 comes full most days. So I'm liking that, but as you can tell, there are some bigger mountains out here, but you're landing down in the valley, and it is very open and forgiving, and they do have a ton of approaches. And if you don't want to fly your own plane out there, pretty much the other three big airlines go there: American, United, Delta, and then there was another short-term airline that was going in there. I think they're still in business. It's called Keyline Air, and they're operating Dorniers and DC-12s. They also fly into Telluride. So if you're ever that's another place I absolutely love, but that place is 9,700 feet AGL. So you walk across the ramp from your plane, you can pay your fuel bill, which the fuel's about the same. And it's like, I can't breathe. So you just go in there in the plane, you break out the oxygen mask and just start sucking on it, because it is 9,700 feet. And if there's any density, altitude at all, you're like, oh my gosh, I need oxygen just to walk around here. So, a lot of fun times in Jackson Hole. This is actually what Jackson Hole is known for, this antler archway. And they used it originally as a fundraiser back in the day. And tell me if I'm wrong, because I know you spent a lot of time there too. Actually, Deb does as well. They have an antelope refuge there. So they take and do a fundraiser where you buy a set of the antlers and then they place it in there. So it's a fundraiser, but as you can tell, this is a natural source and it's biodegradable. So they just had to replace the whole entire arch, and they said it should hold together for about another 50 years.
4 of them. I just got that part.
One on each corner. Yes, and they decorate them for each special holiday. So Christmas, I've seen them decorated with all the Christmas lights. I know they do the paint for October for breast cancer awareness as well. And right across from there is the $1 Million Cowboy Bar. And if you have one bar that you have to go to besides the Cabbage Patch, it's this one. But I will warn you, they have saddles as seats. Sit side saddle if you're a lady, because otherwise your butt looks like 3 times bigger than it needs to look. So, great bar, great atmosphere. It's very historical. They do a lot of country western dancing there. When I went with the girls, we were there every night. If we weren't skiing on the mountain in the back. They do night skiing right here, but if you go to the main ski area, pretty much everything's a black diamond. You're gonna take a gondola up, you're gonna see a sign that says ABC lift or ABC run that way, it's 1 black diamond. XYZ is that way, it's 3 black diamonds. And I was a new snowboarder back then, so I was like, oh, great, I'm gonna die. But you can take the gondola back down if you don't want to ski down. So this is another nice way to just kind of have fun there and ski. And like I said, I think it's open every night. This is the big Old Faithful, and I had the pleasure of actually snowmobiling out to it in the middle of the winter to see it. And then drive out to it, sit in those long lines. We snowmobiled out to it. It was, like I said, for the girl who hadn't explored until she was 35, it was like, it's on. So pretty much everything I could do, I did. I stole this picture. I didn't get to see this, but I wanted you to see, if you've not been there, the bison. These are 2,000 to 3,000 pound animals that are. I was on the snowmobile, and they were taller than me, and it wasn't a small snowmobile. They have very long horns, and they can gore you. So there was a huge amount of respect. Actually, somebody did. I pulled this a video. This guy saved this kid, but he got gored. So you want to respect the natural wildlife, of course, and it was neat though. They were any place that had been warmed up by the geysers underneath and there was grass and not snow, they were right there. So, I'm on a snowmobile, so of course I'm gonna stay on the snowy paths, but it was still neat to see a historic animal that looks still prehistoric, but it's really good eating. Sorry. I'm sorry. It's like lazy meat. So, this is my Liv 60, sitting out in the cold. They didn't have a whole lot of hangar space out there, and if you do fly out there, I don't know if they've expanded and put more hangars out there, so you're playing, I would assume you would go in the snowy weather, but you might, because it's so pretty out there. It doesn't matter, whatever season. It's like Lake Tahoe, it just takes my breath away. Telluride, like I was telling you about, again, it's all mountainous around here, but little known fact, if you're landing at Telluride and you look off to your right, the mountain peaks that you see on the Coors Light mirrors, that's the mountain peak to the right of the Telluride runway. Fun fact, I thought you should know that. This is a picture of the runway, and I do believe that was after they had extended it and taken the whoopee out of it. When we landed there, you landed and there's was it an up or down? I don't know, but it was pretty exaggerated and not something you want to see on a short mountainous runway anyways, and then you drop off the cliff on the other side if you dork something up. So just don't dork it up. That one, let me see. Let's see if I write it down. It's a 9,700 AGL. Wow. And I didn't put the link. My apologies. I want to say it's 7,000 or 8,000 feet long. Yeah, not from this angle. And that's one of the things, like, it's just like going into San Diego. You have that whole elevator down in effect when you're going into a mountainous balloon. So I'm sure you guys are tired about these mountainous fields. So no, we can talk more about it. I just don't want to go over my time. We're doing good. All right. So from the mountains to the oceans, blurry picture. This is Bermuda, and I've landed there in the Liv 60. Southwest doesn't go in there. I keep pleading with them. Go to Daytona, go to Bermuda. They're not listening. So I have landed here a couple different times, and I remember the first time I launched from the mainland down, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going into the Bermuda Triangle. So of course I'm watching the engines, and I'm like, oh, is that the right? I I think I hear something weird, and anyway, nothing was wrong. You know, some people say that that's a load of malarkey. Some people are very still all about the mysteries of the Bermuda Triangle. It just depends on what you believe in. I landed there, no problem. We got gas, we didn't get to stay, turned around and left. I'm like, wait till I go back. So I go back again, I don't get to stay, but we landed always to the south. I think it's 1230. And as I'm passing out, it's the waves are like crashing over the end of the runway, and I'm like, that's not going to be good for my plane. But they did approve. They don't like you to do a 180 turn on the runway, but at that point they did approve it. So, a beautiful area. It doesn't have 100 low lead, big shocker, because they want you to not try and fly in a single engine airplane out there. They want you in a twin, they want you in a turbine, they want you in a jet. I know that there's been stories where they have actually shipped fuel over there, 100 low lead fuel over there. People going out there in single pistons. That's fine, because that's the only way you're going to get back with the headwinds. It's 995 miles, and that is to fly to it from here. So 1,000 miles. Yeah, just take JetBlue, American, Delta, United, and us when we start going there someday. The other thing about going out there is you have to have high frequency radios, because anything VHF that you're used to using on the plane is only good for 200 miles. So if you don't have that, you aren't going out even in your twin Commander turbo, whatever. So you also have to be checked out to fly through the Avis area and know how to communicate coming back in for the 12 miles. Luckily, you only need a passport. You don't need a visa or a vaccine to go there. And it is United Kingdom territory, so it's very proper. The people there are very proper, kind of like on the Grand Canyons, which I very much enjoyed as well. I did get to overnight there once and loved it. So
Wow.
10 years later, and I'm going to wrap this up. 10 years later, after flying that Lear, and having the best time, I got serious about finally getting to my dream airline, and Southwest obviously was it. You guys have heard a little bit about that story. I've been there 8 years. I'm the first officer still. I put my name on the captain upgrade list, so I'm pulling it off because I really like just having fun with my job, having fun with the people. But because it is one of the top 4 airlines, they are all about the money. And I'll tell you what, they pack your schedule full. So it's not the party airline that it used to be. We work when we work hard, but we have fun doing it. I love this airline. I bleed this tacky blue. And I look forward to flying planes like this, having fun in the midst of a hurricane and whatever's going on. So I have a lot of places that I like to fly with for Southwest, but it's mostly just to go see friends and family out west. Clearly, I have a lot of history out there. So the last 2 places I want to talk about, of course, this is one of our trips to Oshkosh. And I pray, if you haven't gone more than in any of the other places, even Jackson Hole, that you go to Oshkosh at least once.
Yep.
Yeah, it's the best of the best. It doesn't matter what you need. It has some part of it. It has friendships, it has airplanes, it has educational seminars, it has air shows, it has fireworks, it has Boeing green screens. It's my good friend from Flex Shed. Military aircraft, they have concerts. It's just, you run into random people that live in this neighborhood. I don't know if you guys know Leslie, that's Leslie. Another good friend of mine, Laura, from when we were both just working on our instrument rating, she's a captain now at Southwest. Audrey is a captain at Alaska. She works with my husband. Ignore the solo cups, if you know what those are. This is just a party day, and again, this is the booth that Diamond sets up. So if you guys go to Oshkosh, please come by the Diamond booth. We're not allowed to serve alcohol until 5-ish. But if you have a solo cup, you can put whatever in there that you want. So, more random people from Spruce Creek than we went to.
That's
This
great.
was just last year, so it was just cool. It was like more educational seminars and you went into your neighbors. And then there's all the parties that you get to go to. This is our Hawaiian themed one for the company that finances all the diamonds my husband sells. And I have no idea what this is. Oh, honorable mention. Honorable mention. I'm only going to touch on these briefly, only because these are places that, of course, should be on everybody's bucket list if you're a pilot. This is Catalina. So it's 25 miles off the shore of LA. It is a carrier landing. It is almost,
Sorry, if you ever.
it's a lot of fun. It's a little challenging, especially if it's windy, because as you can tell, the runway is right at the end of this basically cliff. And it does have kind of a woody in it. So you can't see the other end. It's multi-purpose because I went with both husbands so far. Third time's a charm. But we went, gosh, I guess it was 30 years ago, and it was $20 to land there, $20 to get a burger, $20 to get on the bus to go down into town, and now I think it's like $40 to do the same thing. But if you, again, another romantic thing, or a fun girls trip, or just if you're traveling, another stop. I don't believe they ever have added any key line, airline, small airline. I think you have to actually charter. You go rent an airplane, go over there. The only thing you're gonna have to deal with is this airspace, which is LA, Santa Ana, Long Beach, San Diego. But believe it or not, there's a flyover, a VFR flyover, right over LAX. It's a corridor. You don't have to talk to anybody. You just have to be at a certain altitude, and you go right over the center of LAX. And when I was an inexperienced pilot, looking down at all of that, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm right over it. So, very, very cool. So an obvious, everybody needs to go to Catalina. And everybody needs to go to Sedona. And another one of those, it says right in that green book, your pilot's handbook, if it's over 10 knots of wind, it's gonna be bumpy there. And that's because it's on another plateau. But unlike the Grand Canyon, where you fly over it or you stand on the edge of it, Sedona, you can be a part of it. You can go and hike it, bike it, you touch the rocks. There's a place that's a natural water slide up the hill in Oakville. And my husband actually did a photo shoot there for AOPA many years ago, so that's his DA-40. That's the runway. It is absolutely gorgeous. And the coolest thing about that, there's a restaurant right on the field, and it has gotten super good. I don't know how it's maintained it, but there's also this kind of hokey hotel on the field, and it's long in the tooth. It's very dated. I know they did a remodel, but not really. But who cares? You're not there to stay in your hotel room. You're there to look out of your hotel room, go out, be a part of this. I was there several times. I have a friend that actually lives at the departure of runway 3 down here, so like her view is right here. But went up there a few times, and this is another two-husband place. So did different things with different men, and it's sadly I get to go more than once. But there's a what do they call this? One of those vortexes down at the end of runway 3 as well. So I've seen seen people actually land here and hike down here to go to this vortex, so it's at like an energy center. And you can also park, there's a road that kind of winds up, so you can park down there and hike up. But just a really cool, immersive area. I think it's a tie if I had to move anywhere, Jackson Hole or here. But honestly, my favorite place is got to be. And it's funny when I looked it up, because I was trying to be complete on this. We all know how long the runway is, 4,000 feet, but I just found it ironic. It said 7FL6 home. And that is really the truth of it. This place is home forever and always, and it's not just because it's the coolest airpark ever I like to fly. It's because of people like you that make you want to come home over and over again. So thank you for having me. I hope you enjoyed it.
Bravo.
And 10 more years we'll talk only about Florida.